So hello everyone, welcome to our CPD event today. And today we've got Dr. Dawne Irving-Bell from Edge Hill University and Dr. Nathalie Tasler from Academic and Digital Development. And they are going to introduce you to the National Teaching Repository.
Thank you for inviting me, Sarah. So yeah, as Sarah has said, I am Dawne Irving-Bell. I work in our Centre for Learning and Teaching at Edge Hill University, which is located in between Manchester and Liverpool for the geographic location. I've been in the centre for about 5 years, and before that I was in our teacher education, so I trained initial teacher education students, and before that I used to be a secondary school teacher. So that's just a little bit about me. And over to Nathalie.
Hi, I'm one of the senior digital and academic and digital developers on the team, and some of you know me, some of you might not. So I support Zottel at the institution, and my other key interest is creative pedagogies. And yeah, Dawne and I are really keen on introducing the National Teaching Repository to you and all the good things that it does and it comes with. And do you want me to share the slides now?
Well, we could put one on, and what I'll do is I'll just talk briefly about how it came about from my perspective, so you get a little bit of background of, you know, what led to this point. So as Nathalie sharing the slides. Okay. So I was asked in 2017, 2018 to look at conduct an audit across Edge Hill University of our induction and transition strategies. And obviously to support student retention, progression, you know, look at widening participation, what we could do to close the gaps in terms of access and participation. And I found lots of fantastic strategies from across the institution. And then I obviously hit the problem that we've got all these strategies, but no one was actually using them or disseminating them across the you know, between faculties, in faculties, even within departments, they weren't sharing with each other. So we had a thing called a good practice directory, and that was really just a list. It literally was just a list that was just sat in a corner gathering dust. So a lovely lady at Edge Hill had just fortunately come back from mat leave, and she didn't really have any work to do for the first 2 weeks. You can imagine it didn't last long. She had a pile of work after that. But I collared her and I said, can you help me set up a wiki, like a space? So using WordPress, we set up a space whereby staff could, I could upload some of these fantastic strategies, and staff could upload them themselves eventually as well. And they could either then offer to do a staff development event, they could share some of their resources, they could just put links on there or their name or their contact or where they were located, so that if they didn't want to do a staff development event, they just wanted to, you know, were happier to meet with someone just to talk through what they were doing and the impact it was having on their students in their context. So I picked them out as the ones that would be replicable and the ones that would be really useful across the faculty. And that went really, really well. And it led to us winning Times University of the Year Award for Student Retention because of the impact that it was having. Now, an unforeseen outcome from that was the metrics that I could get from the statistics off WordPress. I realised that my colleagues were able to see how many times people had downloaded and interacted with their work. So that was really useful for them to, if they were looking for like a learning and teaching pathway, progression pathway, or if they wanted to go for UK PSF, the Advanced HE Teaching Fellowship, you know, Principal Fellowship, SHEA, those kind of things, or if they wanted evidence of the impact of their practice for performance review, or indeed internal or external promotions. So we were able to draw down the data and use that with those colleagues, and quite a few secured, you know, promotions in that way. The other thing I could do with the data was I could see when staff were interacting with the space. So I was able to coincide staff development events. So we had spikes in November and February, which are traditionally our times when we go through periodic review, or spring panel meetings, autumn monitoring. So it was really useful from that perspective. So I took what I found and this sort of model to Advanced HE in their conference in Northumbria in 2019. And people got sort of sidetracked. They weren't interested in sharing the strategies. I mean, they were, you know, looking at the strategies that were making a difference to students, but I was inundated with requests from staff. Could they share their practice, their learning and teaching resources on my space? Well, obviously it wasn't quite designed or built for that, and it wasn't big enough to do that. So I went to Advance HE and I managed to secure a small amount of money, a good practice grant, and that's how we ended up with the National Teaching Repository. So it is, you can probably click to the next slide, Nathalie, and I'll just talk about what it is, sort of thing. So it's a safe and secure space whereby any colleagues, it doesn't matter if you're academic or learning services, student support, you can share your strategies, your practice that's proven in practice. It can be research, it can be all sorts of different formats, which I'll come to a little bit later on, but anything that really would be of benefit to the learning and teaching community. So it's an open educational resource. It's sharing is really easy, and we'll demonstrate during this presentation, you know, well, Nathalie will, hopefully. We'll go on and just show you how easy it is to access the link, to upload your space, your work to the space. It literally just takes a few minutes. The space is housed at Edge Hill University, so it's really secure, but it doesn't gather data or metrics for Edge Hill University. When it generates a citation and a DOI number, but the citation says NTR, National Teaching Repository. It has no sort of link to Edge Hill. Edge Hill's just there because it's sort of, we have the system anyway, so we're using it for the greater good. So the actual platform is built using a system called Figshare. It's housed at Edge Hill University, and it's curated by a team of like-minded colleagues. So Nathalie is one of my wonderful curators, and she curates the SOTL folder, Scholarship of Learning and Teaching, but we've got CPD folders, students as partners, assessment and feedback, lots of different spaces that just help people to locate where the work is. And the curators aren't there to judge or reject your work in any way. They're basically, if you want to share it and upload it, it's your responsibility as the author to check that it's ethically sound and correct, and the typos have been fixed, and the citations that any work you're quoting yourself is correct. But the curator will help to make sure it's accessible. They'll check that it is ethically sound and it's clearly yours. They'll check to make sure that you're using all the correct tags and keywords to make it as easy for other people to access and find as possible. What we do as well through the repository space is we have a Twitter account, so we can tweet. When you share your work, we can tweet it for you, tag you in using your hashtag, and then you can retweet it. So it doesn't look like you're saying, oh, look at me, how fantastic I am with these wonderful resources. We do that for you. The repository does that for you. And then you can tweet and share. And because we have found people in the learning and teaching practice are really quite shy, humble people, and they don't like to blow their own trumpet quite a lot. So we can help to do that for you as we help you to develop your sort of academic profile and gain and secure your academic recognition for your intellectual property. So let's have a little look. So on the page there, and feel free to jump in, Nathalie, with anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as the curators, what we can also do is we can help you to set up either projects or collections. And they have two different functions. So a project, so for instance, it's really good that you put up the embedding sustainability throughout HE curricula. So that is actually led by one of our colleagues from the School of Education, Gabriela Rodolico, and it came about when Vicky Dale and I were developing a module for the UNESCO for a UNESCO Sustainable Bootcamp, and it was all about pedagogies, and Vicky asked colleagues to submit case studies, and then we collected the case studies that everyone submitted into the National Teaching Repository to give people who submitted their case studies exposure. They get a DOI for each of the case studies. So in a project, you can invite collaborators, and then the collaborators can edit this from their own Figshare account, so they don't have to go through the elaborate through the submission process. They can do this straight through their own Figshare as a collaborator. And in a collection, if you are already using Figshare and you want to share your stuff on, or your materials on the National Teaching Repository, you can send us the DOIs from Figshare, and I can cull them into a collection into the National Teaching Repository. So there are different ways where we as curators can help you, and all the other curators in the different sections can do this as well. As Dawne said, I'm responsible for scholarship, but other curators and other sections can do the same. And so this way we can also help you to have bigger, so instead of just individual submissions, also have bigger projects and bigger collections in the National Teaching Repository and get you more exposure.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nathalie. I should also add as well, if you see me dip off, I've got COVID at the moment. What you're seeing here is the miracle of makeup and medication. Okay, I did have it last year, but I'm not as bad this time around with it. So if I do tend to forget what I'm saying, or Nathalie jumps in, thank you, Nathalie, it's because my memory's shot as well. But I'm going to do my best. And obviously at the end of this, if you have any questions or queries, you just feel free to get in touch with us. So this, the little space there that says curators and critical friends, you can see there's a button that says cite. So it generates a proper full citation, just as you'd have with any journal article. The metrics over here on the right-hand side show the number of views and the number of downloads. And there's also a link to the altmetric data that shows you where people have tweeted about it, which countries, those kind of things. So it's really a fantastic system. Now, when you upload, you can put any level of Creative Commons licensing onto the work that you decide to share. You can share it as a Word document or a PDF. I'll come to different formats in a second. But you can choose to obviously have it, that people can use it and share it, but do nothing with it, or they can adapt it for use within their own practice, but obviously giving you the credit and the recognition for your work. Mm-hmm. So at all times, everything you share remains your academic and intellectual property. Yeah. So should I add anything there? Oh, and you can link it to your ORCID ID as well. And if you don't want to share, we have had a couple of colleagues over the past 18 months when the repository's been running say, well, I've been told by my institution that my teaching resources aren't mine, they're the university's. My own perspectives on that I probably shouldn't share. But what we've done with where that's happened to those one or two colleagues is they've put a link onto the repository, but then direct back to their home institution or their personal, it can go to personal websites or wherever it needs to go back to. So they can direct their students and colleagues through the repository back down to where it is. So they're not breaking any rules within their own institution, but they have a mechanism for collecting the metrics so they can see how many times people are interacting with their work. Now, I know that just views and downloads aren't necessarily a measure of impact, but the fact that one or two pieces may only attract 10 views, but others are into the 10,000s, then that gives you some indication of the value that people are placing on your work because they are interacting with it, they're sharing it, they're downloading it, and they're beginning to cite it. Anything else to add on that, Nathalie? Before
I was just thinking there is, I believe there is when you submit something, there is a button where you can have the work in the NTR but unpublished. So for instance, if you have an embargo until a certain time, and I'm not sure if there is an option to share this just internally. Then.
Yeah, you can share the link privately.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can embargo it until you're ready to share it further, so you can share that privately, and that will still generate the metrics. Those people who view it. Yes, so you can signpost to existing repositories, personal websites, and other institutional spaces. Citation. Yeah, good. Okay, right. So next.
Got everything.
Yeah, I've got like a tick list. It's a post-COVID thing. So the beauty about the system is we're not looking at 5,000 word papers here, although you can submit reports if you so wish. But the system is
sorry, we have, for instance, at Christmas, we just talked about it, the Creative HE community, we have published an open access ebook as the first annual compendium in the National Teaching Repository. And this has already had almost 300 downloads. So, as Dawne said, it doesn't have to be a big piece of work, but it also can be a big piece of work if you want to.
The Journal for Social Media for Learning, start with Med Community, whilst it's housed at Liverpool John Moores University, because it contains a number of pieces that are multimedia and a posters and a visual, the LJMU Open Journal system doesn't facilitate those as well as the repository does. So we have links to and from each space. So there's a full copies of the Journal of Social Media for Learning on this site, and that's had 14,000 downloads, the first edition. So that's another way it can be used. We've also used it to house and store work shared through conferences. So pedagogy and pancakes. We've got, I'm trying to think of the others, I should have written a list, but there are 2 or 3 others whereby colleagues are using it to do that space. So during the conference, people will come to this space, click on the DOIs, people are gathering metrics during the conference, seeing who's interested in the work, and then because people are able to access the full presentations before the conference and then during it, they're able to then speak to those colleagues and help them decide which presentations they want to go to, and then actually sort of, I don't want to say expert, but ask the expert to explain a little bit more about their work. So the big list in the middle are all the different types and ways and formats that you can upload and share your practice. So it can be multimedia, it can be an educational resource, it could be a report, it can be data, it can be a poster, media. There isn't anything there that anyone's come to me with and said, oh, I've struggled to upload that.
There's even Figshare even has plugins for GitHub, and so you can, for instance, also share code libraries you created, and so it's really comprehensive.
Yeah, and then on the far right hand side are just some little examples of when you upload, it sort of shows you the snapshot of the first page of something, so it can be attractive to people. And then the bottom one, just an example of something we did. I don't know, who did we do that for? I can't remember. We were on some kind of panel.
I think, yeah, for a scholarship panel, I think.
Yeah, we did. And how the DOI looks. That one says Edge Hill because I uploaded that one. I should probably redo that one and upload it in a different way. So yeah, so that's everything on that page, I think. So obviously, oh, this is a great.
Shiny numbers. Next.
This is shiny numbers. This is the slide that blows my mind.
Does anyone have a question though so far? Because we're just talking at you in that first part.
The Smita has a question in chat, Nathalie.
Okay. Yes, you can. So you can share. So Smita asked if it is possible to share websites. So yes, I have done this before. I have an academic blog, and I share the links to the different blog posts under the NTR, because, for instance, I want to reference it somewhere. Then I share the link to my blog post, and then the NTR gives it a DOI and makes it into a proper citation as with any other material. So you don't have to actually upload it. Awesome.
And Simon Thompson from he's the director of the Creative Institute Innovation at the University of Liverpool. He's got 3 or 4 pieces on the repository, and he uses that to direct them back to the University of Liverpool, because he'll get more traffic to share his work through this space and then put it back to Liverpool. So it works really, really well. Let's have a look. So altmetric data, you can see the views, the downloads, the number of engagements, and you can get a fantastic map like this. Okay, so this is when I started this is the thing that blew my mind, because obviously the little blob in the middle that's sort of palish blue is the UK. And I didn't realise how much traction sharing work and resources would give. So there's only 16% roughly each month or so. Something varies, sometimes it'll go up to about 18, sometimes it'll be a bit lower, but only about 16% is actually from the UK. The majority of activity is from North America, from the States and Canada, and some weeks, you know, things go a darker blue than others. But at the moment, I've just updated, there's 122 countries have accessed the repository, and 20% of those are from countries that are listed as least developed by the United Nations. So we started in September 2020, so we're about 18 months in. So we're almost on 100,000 views now. So that's about 6,000 people each and every month. So it's over 1,000 people a week just come into this space to try to look for, you know, inspiration, innovative ideas, the best, you know, ideas in learning and teaching practice to inform their own practice for the benefit of their students.
Mhm.
So obviously, the more people who join us, the more people who share fantastic practice, then the more people will come to the space to access those great ideas. And it'll just be a real free knowledge exchange in a safe way that benefits the people who are viewing and downloading and using the practice and adapting it, but it also benefits you, for sharing and being so good and kind as to share your fantastic practice. You are able to secure that recognition as well, and get the information, data on how your work's being used. And any data that you share, you don't have to put emails on or any contact details, but you can on your presentations and your work. And obviously you could say, if people are interested, they're more than welcome to get in touch. And then that can open up different networking opportunities for you to collaborate internationally. The world's just, you can just do whatever you want with it, really. There isn't a problem that people have come to with Nathalie or I since we launched it that we haven't been able to overcome.
Yeah. But you also have a really good support from the platform provider. So if you had a problem, they were usually very responsive in trying to fix that.
Yeah, they are, and it's Edge will pay for it. It's part of our learning services. So we have a technical director at Edge Hill, Liam, who's amazing, who helps if I get stuck with anything. Figshare are really good. One thing I should say as well is when you're uploading your files. So I used to be in teacher education, and crikey, the curriculum and the legislation changes every 2 minutes. If you upload some work and then it goes out of date and you'd really like to update it, you don't have to start your metrics again. You can go back in and you just add the new file over the top. So it doesn't lose any data that you've already collected, but you're then able to add a new piece.
So it has version control, and then you can say, for instance, if someone looks for an older version because something was covered there that the newer version doesn't have anymore, you can tell them, go to this citation but download version 2 instead of version 5. So that's a good feature, I think, as well to have.
So as we go to the last slide, we can just we can show people things then,
and then we can start showing you things.
Yeah. So to help support, obviously I've got Nathalie's just sort of helped me create this. We've got probably about 14 curators now. So people come to me and say, oh, can I set up a folder on students as partners or something? We don't have separate folders for EDI, or equity of access, things like that, because I think those should be embedded in absolutely everything that goes onto the space anyway. But if there's anyone would love to become a curator and help share the load with one of the curators who already exists, that's an opportunity. If you have an idea for a folder or a space, we're always welcome, more people who join in, the better. We can always set up a discrete folder for you and give you access to the repository to become a curator. But the other way people are getting involved is by being critical friends. So all of the little logos on the slide there, and I think there's about 22 people now with about 78 institutions, which are global. They're all colleagues who are helping and supporting the space and sharing and uploading, and it's growing all of the time. So if you would like to become a curator or you want to become a critical friend, and all a critical friend does is literally often emails me and go, that link isn't working. Or like Nathalie said, your old design's too dark, it's horrible, I don't like it. So,
I didn't say it was horrible, I just said it was
when
dark.
You say you don't like it, that means it's horrible. So so I sort of redesigned it and just made it a bit lighter and brighter. There might be something on there that you think, oh, well, that could be improved this way or that way. And seriously, it's just a journey together, really. Nobody owns it in particular. Everybody's welcome to join in and get involved. If you become a curator or a critical friend, I can share the Twitter handle with you and that, and you can share and disseminate. It's really ideas from the community that just make it grow and improve it and to make it better. So I'm at the point now where I'm probably a bit stuck with what to do with it next. And it's only when people come to me and say, oh, well, can I use it for this? And I go, oh my gosh, didn't think about that. I mean, one thing I want to do is I've got funding for, I think I've got 10 ISBN numbers. So I'd like to do a compendium from each curated folder of the practice to give colleagues another outlet, another way of sharing and disseminating practice. That would also give the curators and some critical friends opportunities to edit perhaps and curate and get different experiences of publishing in that way. And the other thing I want to do, and I've talked about it for so long now and I should just do it, is have some awards, so to recognise and reward the people who are sharing their work. So we could have something like, the fastest number of downloads, because it was lovely, wonderful. Kate Cuthbert from Nottingham Trent Uni, she shares so much fantastic stuff about if any of you are going for advanced HE fellowship and you're a bit stuck for some ideas, you type her name into the repository, it comes up. She's got all sorts of resources there to support people in writing and crafting their applications for the UK PSF. And hers were always done. Is she on the call? She's going to be on the case. You've typed it in, that's right. But we were on LT Chat. I don't know if any of you know about that. It's a Wednesday night, 1 hour pedagogical conversation. And a guy called Lee Fallon came on, and someone was saying about a poster design for or some work about inclusion and diversity. He said, I did a poster about 4 years ago, it's here. And he shared it, and someone said, well, you should put that on the repository. So he'd had this poster for 4 years that no one had really ever done anything with. He knew it was really blooming good. He put it onto the repository and it just went, his map and his citations and his metrics are, blown everything else out of the water. Literally, it went to, I think, about 8,000 in a couple of weeks. So that's the power of the space. If you put something good on there, otherwise he wouldn't have had any way to evidence the impact of his practice. So anything else there to add, Nathalie? I do tend to go.
I think you've got everything. And does anyone have any questions? Otherwise, we would maybe just walk you through how the submission looks like.
And I'll paste some links into the chat.
Does anyone have any questions, or have we completely
overloaded you?
Just information dumped on everyone right now?
I do apologize.
So if nobody has a question, Leslie, you switched your camera on. Do you want to?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen repositories come and go over the past, for instance, JISC's Jorum. But for Glasgow University, we also have EdShare. I'm aware of it, but I don't think many staff are. And I wonder if, if we're bypassing EdShare, the potential for using EdShare within the community that is the University of Glasgow, in favour of a national repository. I hadn't realised this existed, so this has been really great for me.
Can I just say about the Jorum and the JISC? You'll notice on the list, JISC are a supporter. I've got 2 colleagues who work there, and they are really interested because obviously they invested an awful lot of time and effort and money into that and didn't know why it didn't work. And I really do think it's because the people sharing didn't get enough back. This is something that you get back, you can see instantly. So it's a great two-way street. Everybody benefits. And I don't think necessarily they have perhaps in the previous iterations. But if you have a system at Glasgow, we have like an EdShare thing, but it changes that often and it's behind firewalls and people can't get to it. This is completely open access, but there's nothing to stop you, Leslie, putting it on the repository, directing it back to something and putting a link to say, this isn't really only accessible by, or want full access.
Dawn, I had a chat with Paul Cannon already, and we wanted to meet with librarians and have a chat of how we can actually link that better. Because when we did the session last time, he was there from the library and was mentioning EdShare, which I wasn't aware of, and that there might be a possibility to link this as well.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. That's anything really that gets the best resources out there to help colleagues is all what we're about, really. Instead of reinventing the wheel of someone who's already a little bit further along the path than you are, who you can perhaps look at their practice and adapt it and refine it. But also when you are sharing, you're getting that recognition. People would not dream of taking someone's paper in a published journal and just inserting it into something else without giving it credit and a full citation. But I bet I'm not on my own here, having been into a large lecture theatre to deliver a lecture and realise how the students say, we had a few of these slides last week, miss. You know, hang on, and other colleagues have just taken parts of your slides, no credit, no recognition, pass them off as their own, because it's, you know.
So are we at a stage where we actually need to relaunch awareness around Creative Commons and what that means to us in terms of open educational resources and practice?
Yeah, that would be.
Because that's what I like about the CC Commons is, as you say, you can find a resource and adapt it and apply the same Creative Commons license and re-upload that to the repository, and then people can get the best of a number of iterations and take what they what suits them best, and then, you know, reshare that again.
I think I've just found a new critical friend, Nathalie.
Yeah, I know, sounds like it. Leslie, you just volunteered, didn't you?
Yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely on the same page. That's brilliant. Yeah,
but it's really interesting, but it is something I wanted to follow up with the library about, if there's a way of linking that or making that linkage easier between the repository and EdShare, because it's like with Enlighten, you can pull in the information from ORCID.
I mean, a little bugbear of mine is that as at Glasgow, we haven't got access to EdShare via our VLE. For me, if I was a member of staff and I've got resources, then I want to share them with students via the VLE. Then I want to, when I open up that file picker, sorry folk, if you're not Moodle users, then I want to see the option for EdShare there so that I can select the resource directly and display it in Moodle. But
not to put too fine of a point on it, but with the teaching repository, you can actually embed your material into Moodle.
yeah, I spotted that, which is
and then you get the metrics. And the wider community can access as well. So it's a winner. Should we have a look at the space, Nathalie?
Let me share the screen. If anyone has a question, just shout in the chat or just unmute yourself and talk to us.
If I can work out to see how to do this, then everybody else can too. It's so easy. If you've ever sold anything on eBay or anything like that, you know, so you go, don't worry about it saying Edge Hill, just ignore that bit. The link for submit is in the chat. You just literally put that link in and it comes up with this page. Then you tell Edge Hill that you're not a robot.
Oh gosh, and then you have to tell it where buses are.
Yeah. Once you've done this once or twice, you don't get asked this daft thing anymore.
Yeah. So, and then you can hear,
you go for it, I'll shut up.
So I'm choosing the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning one.
If you're not sure which folder to put your work into, if you just put it into the main National Teaching Repository, it comes to myself and Liam, and then I can look through it and say, well, actually, I think that might be SOTL, or that might be Scholar, you know, and put it in for you. So don't get too hung up if you can't decide which folders to put your work into.
Dawne, here is the one problem we stumbled across last time. So you can upload just URLs, but at that point, it only allows you to drag. So I'm just, what do I do? I'm just adding a photo right now. It's just
add any file, we can always take it off.
Well, I don't have to actually publish it. So I drag and drop a photo in here. And then you can see, I can give it a title, whatever.
So one thing when you put it in, if you've saved it as a PowerPoint or something, sometimes it comes up with PPTX at the end. Just check the title is as you want it to appear on the repository. We can always tidy that up for you when the curators do, but that thing in title will be as it appears. And then obviously what Nathalie's doing now is picking the the type of presentation that it is, whether it's data, media, or report.
So is this a media because it's an image, or? is it a figure?
No, it doesn't matter. Whichever you
I'll
fancy.
just call it media. And then here, as you can see, there are several authors. So I can put myself as an author, but then I am linked on Figshare with my ORCID. So what I usually recommend is that you actually set up a Figshare account with your ORCID. And then if you collaborate with someone and they upload the resource for you, they can add you as another, let's see if I find Dawne.
With an E on, and it should come up.
See, because Dawne is registered, so I can, so if Dawne is registered with an old email address, I can still add her.
You can see it's quite good because you can see as I've found out about the system, I've had a play, and the bottom one's probably the most up to date. I don't know how you get rid of the others, but you can see how many mistakes I've made along the way to get to the point where we are here today.
Yeah. So you can either add co-collaborators with their email address. That is perfectly fine. It will then ask you to manually put their names in and the email address, but that is fine, that works. Or if someone has an account on Figshare, you can just add their ORCID and submit them through their ORCID. Or you can also add their ORCIDs and email accounts manually. So this works. The categories are interesting. So you can search for categories. It's plants. So I say like forestry. Wait a moment.
There's a little question there from Smita.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. So we'll, in a sec, we'll go back up and we'll just type in, say, your name, for example, and it will come up. It won't come up in a little greeny blue box. It'll come up in a grey box.
So
it'll be listed. So let's try it. There we go.
So Smita, you are not there. So it says author details, you know, add author details. So I just say glasgow.ac.uk. And then I go add author details. It keeps your email address. And then I just say Smita and add your name. And if I have your ORCID address, if I have your ORCID, I can just also add your ORCID with it. So I won't save that. So I'm not signing you up with.
Yeah, but when you do, it just goes grey. But so it still appears on the thing, but obviously it wouldn't be pulling any metric. You still get the metrics for the piece, but it wouldn't be linking to any ORCID ID or any other repositories or spaces that you may have.
Exactly. And then you just, I'm just randomly clicking things in here. So you choose your discipline. You can put in keywords.
And these are people. So do you always need an email address? I think I've uploaded it before, Gwen, without people's email address and just put the name in. I think that
yes, I have done that as well, because I had a collaborator on something that we've done 10 years ago, and I don't know their current email address, so I just added them by name. Yeah, and then you can put the description in, so things are easier to find. If it was a funded project, you can add reference numbers there. If there are any other references, you can put the license.
Back to the descriptions. The description is just like a short abstract that you put at the start of the paper. But if you wanted to share any details there, like, you know, if you're interested in this piece, get in touch with me. Only if you wanted to, you could put your email in or your Twitter handle, or you could put a link to other personal websites and things in there as well. So that's your little space to put in exactly what you want.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, you go for it, Nathalie.
I'm having fat fingers at the moment. So so you can put references in here. You can look up the copyright. You can check which copyright you want to do. You might want to research this or reference to our information services who have the, you know, who have information about copyright and what that means. So you choose that. Sorry, I think I need more coffee. I just had a brain freeze there.
Okay. I can fill in. So you can put, obviously, you know, no derivatives, you know, just whatever.
Yeah.
This one's interesting, the accessibility.
Yeah. And then the accessibility. What you can do as well is, so I have this, wait a moment. the images are in the way, so I can't find the submit button.
Oh, I can see it right down at the bottom. Keep going.
You know, the bar is over it. That's
Down
why.
at the top,
At the moment, the navigation
Got it.
bar from Zoom is over it. There we go. So, oh yeah, description is
Put some crosses in it.
awesome.
See how it nudges you and tells you if you haven't filled in everything.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So, and then what then happens is when I can stop sharing now. So what happens then is that was in scholarship. So I get the notification and the other curators get a notification by email that says there has been a submission. Can you check it? And then we just check that sometimes people click the wrong category, or they wanted to put it in a specific folder and then accidentally got the wrong one. And we just check that this is really for the photo section, or that should maybe be in the curriculum design section, or and then we accept it, and that's it, and it goes public. But it's just the curation is really, that's what it is. It is a curation. It is not a peer review. It is not a judgment on the quality of your work. This is up to you. This is your IP. It's literally just so we curating it and keeping it all a little bit sorted according to topics and areas, and yeah.
And then obviously when it comes up, do we want to show the page like
yes, wait a moment.
We can just have a look at something that's been uploaded recently, or go further back and find one, or type a name in to show a search, and
yeah, let me just
some of the maps and little graphs and things.
I'm just okay, I just log in to the curation site so I can show this. Wait a moment, need to share screen again.
You can see how easy it is, and just takes seconds to upload and share.
It's actually easier to submit it than for me to share the screen.
Yeah. Oh, so this is a curator page. This is Nathalie.
So
page.
yeah, so this is the curator page, and I don't have any activities right now, but so I can see all the different things that were submitted under the sortal session. And so we have projects here. So for instance, our College of MVLS has scholarship material project here. And when you go on, you can see people have already shared, uploaded material there. Or the Education for Sustainable Development has started to collect their case studies. So there are different things you can find here. But you can also search directly on the National Teaching Repository. So if I want to browse, not just under scholarship, I just put in NTR, and then I have this massive list of things that are there. So Anne Tierney has submitted here, or Neil. So, and then I can check, okay, which license do I want to look for? So if there's something where you look for a specific license, you can do this. There are presentations, media, conference contributions. So we can look at presentations, for instance, and say the National Teaching Repository, or maybe I just want to have NDR digital education, and I can apply these filters and then have the resources according to these filters. So I just click on the first one I find, and it loads. And as you can see, there are previews for the slides that are there. You can download it directly. You can embed it. You can cite. If you click on cite, you get the full citation, and you can copy the citation or copy the DOI, and you can actually also see the usage matrix for that specific item yourself.
Yeah, maybe you type in something like Kate, and then we can have a look at.
Yeah,
so I know she's got a lot, or mine even, because I've got quite a few.
Oh yeah, sorry, I just did. Huh?
You got a lot as well. I'm just thinking of one with like a little cute map.
Scholarship and impact. There's the one. It's a really nice one from Kate, just to show.
So many. They're just all lovely.
Yeah. So Kate has.
See that? See, I'm looking at that now, getting irritated because it says resume did case study 1 PDF. So what we needed to do there was go back in and just tidy that up for her and take the PDF, because you see what I mean about the title. So these are like lessons learned from COVID. So this is like
So the title, you can see ready-made case study isn't really a meaningful title. So as curators, yeah, that's really something we should have commented on for the author. See, so there's there's graphics as well. So you can see I stopped sharing now. I think you get a little bit the gist of all the interesting things that are on there and the types of material that are on there. And also that you name your files appropriately so people can actually find them or have a meaningful download. What is it? Would the NTR display zip files?
Yeah, I've never tried that.
I never tried that either.
Yeah. My experience of uploading zipped files to repositories, whether it's Xerte or a small kind of website that you've created of a resource, is that the system doesn't have the ability to unzip and maintain the links between web pages. So you need to download to preview basically. So like Joram, so we had to upload a thumbnail basically of the Xerte resource for folk to get some insight into what it was before having to download and preview.
I'm actually just on it. Yep, I can upload a zip file. I can upload it.
See what it looks like. See, I knew you were going to be a great critical friend. See, question I've not had. Love it.
Fill in the mandatory fields.
So Yvonne's saying she was thinking of an object that could be downloaded for use and adapted elsewhere. I mean, the best thing to do, Yvonne, is just have a go.
Yeah.
I don't think we can break it.
Yeah, it's because one of the things I've been looking at is that, you know, trying to get ways for people to create OERs that they can then share, and Xerte is one of the packages that we have for kind of creating like pedagogical learning objects, and then people can take them and do what they want with them, but the finding how to share them is the tricky bit. So I was just thinking this could be a way of you know, providing that feature.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to either have a go at uploading it yourself or get in touch with Nathalie and I and send it to us, and we'll have a go and put it in embargo and stuff and share it with you till it looks right.
I think, like Leslie said, I would expect the same thing. You know, you'd upload a zipped folder that would then have to be downloaded and then placed into Xerte later. So I would expect that would be the case. I wouldn't have thought, because it's a very special kind of web package, is the Xerte stuff. So I would doubt it would be previewed within, you know, a repository. But even just the ability to share those things would be great.
Yeah, and we've got a growing body of staff who build resources using H5P.
Yeah.
So that would be quite similar. But H5P exports as an H5P file, so anyone would need to download it and re-upload it into their VLE, and as long as they've got the H5P plugin installed, then it would display and work. And then of course I would be able to edit it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can upload H5P on it because you can upload code, so that should not be a problem. I've uploaded the zip file, Dawne, but I can't see a request for review, so I don't know if you see it on the general one. So it would be interesting. We need to try out the zip file thing. That's actually a really interesting question. So we might have to come back to you later with this instead of playing around right now and going.
We have some homework. I'm just logging in now because I wasn't logged in.
Yeah.
Could I ask another question while I'm?
Oh gosh.
I popped it in the chat earlier, but it kind of got lost a bit.
Sorry.
Just thinking about my experience as repositories, people often complain about the quality, or that, you know, they found that what they think is a great resource, they download it, oh, it's not great, or they download it and it's got copyright stuff in that you know they get thrown by. Is there any kind of quality process when you're asking people to upload?
I think because colleagues are obviously putting their heart on the sleeve and sharing, we're not judgmental when we accept things, you know, but we check to make sure the typos aren't there and it's pretty good quality, it's accessible, you know, it's easiest to find. So I can't really think of many that we've rejected in that. We've helped shape a lot, because the idea is to support colleagues to grow in confidence to share their resources. and sort of be gentle with them if it isn't quite good enough, but in a nice way, to get them to just rethink it slightly and then upload and share. I mean, I've not had anyone come back and say, well, that's a load of rubbish, everything on the repository. Do you know what I mean? And if it is, well, move on. You reminded me there of, I had an opportunity to write a paper with some people, and we did it, called it about the courage to softle. And it's basically 5 women's ramblings about how the challenges of finding our scholarship and going ahead with it. And when we got the feedback off one, it was like, well, where are the tangible outcomes of this? And I said, well, if you can't find them in the paper, just stop reading. You know, it's not my problem. We're sort of like venting and sharing. If you can't, so if people come to the space and don't find value in absolutely anything, then I'd question what they're looking for, probably, but you'll find maybe 1 or 2 things that aren't quite suitable, but hopefully by the keywords and the title and the curation of the folder, it's going to be pretty tight.
Yeah, we try to look for that. So for instance, if someone submits to make sure they have appropriate keywords so people can actually find the right thing, what they are looking for, or if they don't have enough information, or if the title is not very meaningful, say something about that. So things like this,
Sure. And what I've got one other question, and then I'll shut up. On your slide, you had the University of Bath logo on there, which is where I work. I'm a learning technologist from the university there, and I'd love to know who you're working with, so I can get in touch with them.
Let me find the you can find that easily on the repository. Let me see, and I'll just go through because they're all listed and named. So let me find that, and I'll tell you who it is.
Fantastic, thank you.
Too many people have uploaded stuff, and it's further down than I want it to be. Curators and critical friends. I should have all these things to hand. You see. Testing me. Let's have a look. Download that.
While you're looking for it, does anyone else have any questions? Because I just noticed we're running out of time with our ramblings.
And I've got that zip file through, and I'm going to just try to accept it. I don't know if that's what you want me to do, but I can see it.
No, I just wanted to see if you can actually preview the zip, if the zip file shows anything.
Dr. Lisa Budrus, that's one job done. And then let me find the zip file if I can. What it's come through with is it's gone to separate files, so I don't quite know. I've never seen anything like this before. Should I have a go at sharing my screen? Well, I can't, can I? Where's the camera?
Wait a moment. I think I can make you share.
It should be enabled.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah,
okay.
super.
So this is my, can you see this? What can you see? Can you see like a screen with loads of numbers and letters, or can you just see?
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've come in and I've got my little thing here, and I've had a request. So let me see, I clicked on it, and now it's gone into, that was your flowers, that was your first one.
Yeah.
Doing. So if I go into my data, this is the one I think you've just sent.
Yeah,
right?
can you delete this again, because there was really, it's not my file to share, it's literally just to take the public out again.
It's there as if I could, if I wanted to, but I wouldn't know what it looked like. So probably what we're probably better doing is stop sharing, actually have a practice outside of this meeting.
Yeah.
And just try with a zip file that we can actually share and use. But it's definitely there, and it's not come up with any problems as if it won't open.
Elizabeth, what do you mean by downloads, not uploads? Sorry.
Elizabeth's just saying how many hermetrics.
Okay.
Oh, pedagogy.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, I just looked. I was so impressed. Oh my goodness, people have actually looked at that. Who knew?
Yeah, well, Matt at LJMU literally overnight was saying how addictive this is, because he's just been looking at his. I mean, while you're talking, I can have a.
And you remember the projects and the collections I showed you earlier, the ones with the sustainability, for instance, or from MBLS. So if you are invited, so if you have your own Figshare profile and you're invited as a collaborator in a project, the data automatically comes also into your private Figshare account, so you can see that from there as well. So it's all really well interlinked, which is fabulous.
So I'm just going to say, by the way, don't want to stop you because we can carry on, but it's 3 o'clock. So I just want to say, before everybody else leaves, can we just say a huge thank you to these two for what I thought was a really, really useful session.
Thank you for inviting us, Sarah. I mean, as you can tell, we get a bit, look at all the clappy hands. We get really excited about this, you know, and if you can find value from it, please join us. You know, we're not organised in any way, shape or form. We just had an idea and just ran with it and see where it takes us, you know. In the chat there, I've just pasted a DOI from Matt's work. He uploaded it yesterday at 2:03, and it's already had 303 views and 11 sort of global Twitters, you know, and he's not shared it yet. You know, it's just crackers. So yeah, I will stay on for a bit if people have any other questions or thoughts. But if you want to email us, ask us anything, you know, the more people who join it in, the better. You know, there's not a closed shop. Anybody and everybody's welcome. You know, however much or little you can share or bring to it, you know, just feel free.
You will all get an email afterwards with some details in, and I'll make sure that your emails are in that so people know how to contact you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to stop the recording now, I think.